but all the sanding just drove me nuts because when you sand stuff like that, like little kids' hands are all over it. So you have to sand these dowels and like, I won't do the hand motions, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
come on, they make a great reel.
Yeah, it's almost like whittling, you know.
Yeah. Thank you to SurfPrep and our patrons for sponsoring this episode. As always, I'll give a shout out to our top tier patrons at the end of the episode. You can catch these episodes on YouTube on Thursdays, or you can sign up to be a Patreon member and catch it on Wednesdays. Welcome to the Lounge. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast, where every Friday we have a rotating group of makers hanging out and talking shop with each other. Backed by popular demand, today's guest in the lounge has created projects from pikler triangles to arcade game tables. He has a laser engraver for every day of the week and keeps them busy when he's not at his CNC. This guy consistently incorporates his family into his content, and his wife could beat us both at a game of arm wrestling. If you've seen his morning car dance parties, if you haven't seen them, you are missing out. Trey Jones with Handcrafted by Trey is back.
That was the most truthful intro I've ever heard. All the way down to the arm wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, she has some guns.
Oh, she has some guns.
Yeah.
She works on them daily, but she has some guns.
Yeah. I mean, if I caught her in a dark alley, I would hand her my keys. Like, I'm not messing with her.
I can't wait for her to hear this. She'll get the big head.
Right. She's like, oh, man, I got to go crush it some more. So, yeah, I know you used to be into all that stuff. And
yeah,
but life has gotten crazy with.
Heck yeah. So, I was a CrossFit coach for about 7, 8 years. That's how I met Alexis. I was her coach. That leads into a whole bunch of stories, but yeah. So
I got time.
Yeah. So that's used to be hard into it, and then life and kids and just everything.
I was at my son's doing the All-Stars, so we've been talking about that. But we were at the games last week, and you can see the t-ball field and all the dads and moms. They're all like super fit at the t-ball fields, and then like. Coach pitch, you start seeing a little bit of the bellies and stuff, and then like as you get more to the older kids, like the parents, it's like we start widening out. I think at some point it's like, okay, we've had enough fast food at these games. Like
yeah, it's a natural trend, you know.
Yeah,
kids get older, time gets less and less.
Right. Yeah, but she's crushing it at the gym, and you're crushing it in the shop.
I'm trying. That's where my time shines at 9 p.m.
Yeah, 9 p.m. Go hit the shop. Before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, SurfPrep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, SurfPrep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using SurfPrep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. So do you typically work like during the weekdays, like go out there in the evening or?
Yeah, so I have a full-time job. A lot of people don't know that. It's kind of interesting when they ask me if it's my full-time, if woodworking is full-time, but it's definitely not. So come home, hang out with the kids, put them to bed, showers, bath, everything, and then usually try to get out there 9 o'clock after I hang out with Alexis for a little bit, and 9 to 11, midnight, depends on how much steam I got.
Right. Yeah, you definitely incorporate, like, you have a lot of stories where you've got the morning dance party with the kids. You do the drop off in the mornings.
So I got them every morning. I take them to school, and now it's even gotten not harder, but so Case goes to summer camp now, not his old daycare. So now like there's 2 different drop offs. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're one of the cool dads.
I try. TJ DJ, we had to mix it up with the dance parties there.
Do they have a favorite song?
Oh yeah, well it used to be Boogie Boogie Hedgehog, if you know that one.
I don't. I've been out of that game for a minute.
Yeah, there's been Power Rangers. There's been a few, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Oh man, there's a Jules TV. There's the Big Bad Wolf. I've been into that one.
Yeah.
You have to listen to it. Everybody will look it up.
Yeah.
They're listens will skyrocket.
Right. We had 10 downloads today.
Yes. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So you have, you said it, you have a full-time job during the day.
Yep.
And, so you've been doing that for how long?
Oh, I've been doing that since 16.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a family thing, right?
Family thing. Yes. I've been working there since I was 16, bought my first truck, working there. And then, I mean, I still went to school and I even went to college, but, reverted straight back to, the family business, and been there ever since. So now almost 21 years.
Right.
Shoo.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look back, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody and they were like, "Oh, how long you been at your job?" And I was like, 18 years. It's just weird.
It is.
Like, I just graduated high school. There's no way I've worked here for 18 years.
Yeah, I graduated. Oh, wow. I've graduated high school almost 20 years ago,
Right. Yeah. Then you realize, oh, this wasn't my first job out of high school. Yeah. Like, dang it. I'm getting old, dude.
I don't have a beard, but it'd be gray if so.
Yeah. Well, you do incorporate some mustache into your stories.
Yeah. It's more out of jealousy than anything else. Just because I can't grow one.
Yeah. You've had some times where people are messaging you and like, what happened to the mustache? Like they thought it was a real mustache.
So this is a true story. At least 3 people, and I'm not over exaggerating, came up and asked me why I shaved it before Workbench Con. So I had to let the cat out of the bag. But yeah. So, I mean, if you want to add a filter onto this one, we can definitely do it.
May have to make that happen. I'll superimpose my beard onto you, onto your face.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, I'll have to do some trick videography. So
I'm here for it.
Yeah, just check it out on the YouTube and see if I'm able to accomplish that. I have been doing a little bit more like in some of the that fun stuff.
Certainly you got to spice it up a little bit.
Right. Try to get people over to the YouTubes. That's where it's at. They say podcasting is the YouTube is the number one place to consume podcasts, but I don't see that happening.
I can see it multiple ways. I don't check all of that, but I could see, people, especially if they stream and on their TVs, they don't have any other option, YouTube, and just play something, especially like the TV in my garage. Right. I have Alexa or an Echo in the garage, so I play it through that, but some people may have a TV and just stream it.
So when you call your wife, does the device go off? Like, does it know when you're saying Alexa or Alexis? I got to say it quietly, so I don't.
Oh, okay. No, so it actually, we have to change them all. They are all Echo, and then the kids could say Echo. So then we had to start changing not each one, but some of them into computer, because you can only call it 3 different things, which is Alexa, Echo, or computer. So the kids caught on to Echo really quick, so we had to change it, and now they're able to, cue the computer too. So it's It's been a challenge.
Yeah, you have to keep rotating, rotating the passwords.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So when did you? Let's talk about your. You've been doing this for 20-something years at your day job, but then the woodworking part of it. How did you get into woodworking?
So woodworking, the very first project, and kind of random, was actually about 8 years ago when it was right before my wedding. I wanted to do something special for my groomsmen, so I made them the old school wooden 6-pack carriers, if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That was really my first DIY project because I wanted something personal, and I ran out and bought a 10-inch cobalt, miter saw, and that was my first true woodworking project. Now we've always done small stuff before that, but that was my first DIY project. Built that and then worked out pretty good and enjoyed it. And
when you bought it, did you ever see like a business in it, or did you just think it was just to do stuff around the house?
No, it was to do something around the house.
Yeah.
I bought it that was the main reason I bought it, but then it turned into some trim work, and then it turned into this, and then it slowly turned into just more and more.
Yeah.
And then when we bought the house, there was stuff here to do, and then it kind of slowly trickled from there.
Right. And then the neighbors are like, "Hey, Trey's got a saw. He can help us out."
That's that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
There's little projects always. I'm sure you get that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then you get on Facebook and you post it on Facebook, and then it's like, now can you ship me something? And
yes, so it just kept rolling, and then the whole trend. Not to go into my trend, but the whole trend was there was one thing. Can I do this? I'm going to try my hardest, and then it just kind of kept working from there. Especially when you first start, there's always those DIY projects like, I want to try this for myself, not a customer thing. So like you have all the time in the world to work on your own projects. Then as the steam rolls, now you lose the time to do your own, and it's always somebody else's, which, hey, they're paying for it, but still there's some things you want to try yourself.
You have been doing a lot of projects in your house. I mean, I think you're renovating essentially every room in your house.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rooms left at this point.
Well, you're trying to make an addition, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's start with the happy stuff.
Yeah, heartbroken on that one, but yes.
Yeah, we'll have to dive deeper into that. But let's talk about more of the woodworking portion of it. So you started, you had your kids, you were building like pikler triangles, and then it looked like that took off for a while. You were making a lot of those.
Oh, a lot. So like there's always a need or a want. So I built a pikler triangle for my son, posted it, sold. Shoot, I'm probably undershooting this at 25. I mean, there was just a ton. And I enjoyed them at first because I love functional furniture. And when I say functional furniture, it's literally something that somebody can use that I built.
Right.
I don't know how else to word it, but functional furniture is what I call them. And that's where I really enjoyed building so people can use it. But all the sanding just drove me nuts because when you sand stuff like that, like little kids' hands are all over it. So you have to sand these dowels and I won't do the hand motions, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
come on, they make a great reel.
Yeah, it's almost like whittling,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, it's just there's a lot of sanding in kids' furniture, which I've slowly worked out of that because now I've got much bigger projects coming in going that the smaller turnaround kids projects have slowly pushed them to the side. And no, I still have them. Like right now, I've got probably 3 of the kids' stools. And those aren't as bad as the triangles because they don't have all those dowels. But the 3 stools I've got on my plate right now, I got to get on the CNC one night this week and knock those out. But
yeah, so do you enjoy the commission stuff, like doing the commission builds, or like if you had to do it all over again, would you go the commission route or would you go more just for the enjoyment route?
So the commission stuff pays for the tools. And then that leads to me being able to use stuff without having to theoretically pay for it myself. I mean, granted, time is money, money is time.
Right.
But that's where that helps me is the commission stuff. Now, the commission stuff I like is the one-off stuff. Somebody says, hey, can you build this? And I have to figure it out. But when you figure it out, that's not where the money is because you've spent all your time figuring it out. Then you can make 20 more, like the kids' stools or the pikler, quickly. But it's just still it's that monotonous. I don't like the monotonous.
Right. But you used to do a lot of the big state signs. Right.
Yes.
That was a big thing that you did on your CNC when you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I made a ton of those too. The states with the county line cutouts, stained with the recesses. Like, it's funny how stuff goes in trends. You can make one, and then all of a sudden you got 100 orders, and let's say you make 200, and now I have 100 left because they magically slowed down. But yeah, so it's funny how things work like that.
Right, and then when you get to your 90th, you're like, I never want to make another one of these stupid things again.
Exactly. But the state things were the easiest at all because you took a 4x4 sheet of plywood, you stained the whole front and back, cut it out, and then cleared it. Like, there wasn't much.
Right.
So they went fairly quick, but it was still work. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. And listening to that loud router the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah. If they could just make CNCs a lot more quiet, like that. For me, that takes I'm like, do I really want to run the CNC today? Because it's just, I don't know, it's just so loud and obnoxious.
Yeah, it's not just the CNC or the spindle. It's also the dust collection. It's
right.
the headphones on for the 2 hours you're out there. Like there's a lot more to it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like running the laser. The laser is just like, you've got the water chiller, but that's super quiet, and it's just like, let it do its thing.
Exactly.
Pop out the pieces. Throw some paint on it.
It's a crazy difference. It can't do half as much as what a CNC can do to an extent, but it can also do more than a CNC can do. They're their own worlds, but they're amazing machines.
So you did a chamfer or round over video. I think we've all done the question at like chamfer or round over. And in fact, there's another podcast that asks that question of all their guests. I'll ask you, CNC or laser?
Ooh.
If you had to pick a baby.
I'm going to go CNC.
Yeah.
CNC has helped me make a lot more projects turnkey than the laser. Now the laser is like made me more money in the easy run after I make a cutting board. Laser it. Now I can add $10 to it. So definitely CNC. Make it short.
Yeah. Don't make it short. This is a podcast. People have long drives.
Well, I mean,
we can't do a quickie and then just like leave them hanging,
Okay, so CNC.
They can finish
all
their
day.
drive later.
Okay. They're really going to be sitting in their car waiting for this one to end. I can tell.
Yeah. We're going to spend the next 15 minutes talking about CNC versus laser.
I'm that intriguing.
Yeah. But you have been on the podcast before a couple times.
Yes, sir.
You came on the first 3 episodes or first 2 episodes. I don't remember what I think it was the first 3.
Yeah, I think we split it up to 3.
Yep. So we did it in one sitting. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing.
You've come so far, because then we've done that one, and then we did another one with 3D Dave.
Right.
And then we did the 20th episode with Dean.
Right.
20th episode,
Yeah.
With Dean, and you've blossomed so much since then too.
And your audio is so much better.
I thank you.
You're going to save me a lot of time in post edit.
All because of you and your recommendations.
Well, I mean, you bought the mic 3 months ago, I think, after the last one or something. And
you complained a lot, so I ended up buying it. I bought it and been sitting on it ever since for that intriguing email.
You say complain, I say made suggestions.
Yes, that's the better way to put it.
I made some strong suggestions. Hey, is there any way that you could make your audio not sound so bad?
Yeah, my ears were burning for a week.
Did you ever go back and listen to the episodes?
Yeah, I did.
Are you because some people are the people who, like, when they put out a video, if you put out a YouTube video, like, you'll go back and watch it several times, or like you do a podcast, you go back and listen to it several times. And then there are other people who are like, nope, that's done, I'm moving on. Like, are you the type of person that will go back and look at your old content? And
so I'll have to say I went back and listened to a lot of them. I listened to them here and there, because obviously, like we talked about, our mornings are our dance parties, so I don't, I don't listen to them then so much.
So I need to incorporate more music in my podcast.
There we go. But I went back and listened to a lot of them all at once before the 20th episode when we, were questioning you.
Yeah.
So that really played into it, and there was a lot to learn, especially from, like you said, the first 3 that I was in, and even with the Dave. I didn't speak a lot in Dave's, but I was still there, for back and forth. So
that one was so much fun.
I could tell
that
a difference.
Episode with Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, we were cracking up.
Every time that I do something, yes, I will go back and watch my videos. I'm not a one and done, and I look for cues and critiques, and I should have edited here. I should have cut that one there. That drug out a little bit. Like, everything, listening and watching is how we learn. I mean, as creators, like, it's a skill in as itself.
Right. Yeah. I know you and I, so for the audience, Trey and I are good friends. We've known each other for a few years now. Gosh, I don't know, maybe 3 years? 4?
4.
5? Yeah.
4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah. And so we talk a lot about, growth and, what's working on our channels and what's not working on our channels, and how we can fix things and pivot and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's a frustrating, the whole content space is a frustrating thing.
Exactly. Because what used to work doesn't work.
Right.
And then what we think is working really isn't. It's a roller coaster. I mean, and no one has an idea. We all think,
right.
You know, especially those people that put out those reels that are like, here's suggestions, and they get 1 million views, and it's like, okay, let me try it, and nah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, and I still find myself watching a lot of the channels that talk about growth and like how to grow YouTube and stuff like that. So then I'll try something and I'm like, didn't work.
No, it's just amazing.
Yeah. But then I heard one, actually I'm listening to an Audible book, the YouTube strategy, YouTube, something like that. And he says in the book, he's like, it's not it's not the algorithm. Your content sucks.
For me,
like,
I would
thanks.
believe that. Yeah. For me, I'd believe that.
I don't
your
think so.
content's been so smooth and so seamless. And,
This isn't about me. This is about you. We're talking about you.
but I'm speaking like,
Yeah.
you know, comparing, you know,
Yeah.
when you pull over your stuff from the YouTube and do those snippets, like that is gold. I mean, it's worked for me. Those have worked for me when I have time to create a full YouTube. But,
right.
you know, I hate to say it, when I get out in the garage, it's go time. Like it's you know, I try to have the influencer and pictures in there and videos, but like it's go time. I mean, I gotta, like the princess bed, I didn't take very good videos of it all because like I had a week to do it and ran into troubles, never used a domino, fighting to figure that thing out, which it's simple. Don't get me wrong, domino is simple to use, but just lining up your, you know, your rails in 2 different pieces, end grain to side to face, like it's just getting everything smooth.
Yeah. I think it's and then it's always down to that like final 10%, and that final 10% takes 90% of the work.
Yeah. And then you're mad, at the end of it. You're like, man, I wish I would have taken more video. Gosh.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I always get frustrated. Like I'll be in a build or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I gotta move the camera, you know, because the audience is gonna get bored, and you know, I'll sit there and I'll move the camera around because that's what people want. And then you go and you watch somebody else's video, which I know they say don't compare yourself to other people, but that's just human nature, I think.
Yes,
you go and you look at other people's content, and I don't typically just watch content to watch content. Like I'll watch content to study content.
Agreed. Just like we were saying.
You go and you're like, then I'm like, there's no way this video has 30,000, 40,000 views, you know? And I'm like, it's one position. It's like maybe like a time lapse or something like that. I'm like, how in the world? And you go and they don't have a lot of subscribers, but the video just pops off. You're like, what the heck?
Agreed. And you know, I don't get it. And as you said, we try not to compare ourselves to others, but I have put a lot of effort into a lot of my videos, and they have bombed. And then I stick at my, you know, 12,000. I've been at 12,000 for almost a year. Like it's crazy. And I don't get it, but hey, here we are. I mean, I keep pushing.
Right. I mean, you do tons of brand integrations, you know, so you're getting reshared a lot. You just had a reshare today.
Yes.
And like doing all that kind of stuff, that should be indicators for the algorithm to put that out to more eyeballs, you know, and those eyeballs should translate to subscribers or followers. Yeah. Because your primary focus is Instagram.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you do YouTube stuff, but your primary focus is Instagram.
I do YouTube stuff when I have the time, and I don't say that softly, but YouTube is a whole different animal with, you know, better camera, the Sony, you got to break it out, and then like the editing side of things. That's where people don't. I mean, that's going down a whole different avenue, but people don't realize that YouTube is an entirely different animal. And as my limited amount of time, which we've talked about, 9 to midnight, and then sleeping for 6 hours, you know, so
if
it's
that,
like, yeah. If one doesn't crawl out of the bed crying in the middle of the night, or, you know.
Yeah. You definitely, you got a lot going on. But then, so now let's talk about these lasers. So you have, I said you have a laser for every day of the week. You've at least owned that many lasers. I know you don't own them all now still, but you have you've had a series of different lasers. You started with like a diode laser, right?
Yes, sir. I had one of the original like 5-watt laser axe diode lasers. Yes.
Yeah. So that was your intro to laser, and then from there you were like, this thing's slow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that thing was super slow. And then I even jumped up and I went to a laser robot or so. I don't remember what it was. A module that I put on the front of it. It was like a true 10-watt laser at the time, which that was still like 4 years ago. And that thing really helped out a ton, but then it was still slow.
Right. So what did that do? It like enhanced the laser beam, or it was like you replaced the laser?
No, I replaced the whole laser head.
Oh, okay.
So on those sort of like the ortho that everybody's using now, it's literally just a carriage. So you just put a new laser head on the carriage, wire it into the board, and it does the same thing, just on and off as it moves. So the 5 to 10 just made it able to run faster, because it would burn more and as it went across. But even at that, it was still a cheap machine. I mean, it worked, but
yeah. So then you got into the CO2 lasers.
Yep. Started with an 80-watt CO2 as a 24x36, and quickly
no small laser.
No, but I quickly outgrew it. The problem with it, there's two things going on here. The diode laser was a gantry. You could set the gantry on top of anything you wanted and laser engrave it.
Right.
Like I used the diode laser to laser engrave the center of a 2x4 table.
Yeah. Perfectly
fine. Well, now I'm inside of a CO2 casing, and literally I can only do a 24x36.
Right.
And the pass-through on those, don't let them fool you. The pass-through is pointless. You cannot use it for anything unless you're doing like a 1/8-inch piece of wood.
Right.
And I can show you details on that later if you're interested. Check us out.
I'll post all your info in the show notes. People can go look.
So that's
way back.
Yeah. So that's a whole different story. But yeah. So then we went from that. Then we went to the 130 watt. The same machine that you have.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. OhmTech or OhmTech?
Well, I think there's 3 ways.
Okay.
OhmTech, OhmTech, or OMTech.
Okay.
I've heard, I watch YouTube videos and they're like, oh, the OhmTech.
Yeah.
I'm like, OhmTech. I guess I never thought of
No,
saying it
but
that
it
way.
could be. So I've been
Nobody
corrected.
knows.
Yeah, I've been corrected 3 times, both ways. So I go with what my heart says, and I'll actually say it 2 different ways in the same video sometimes, just because.
If you know the phonetic spelling, put it in the comments below.
Yes, please. So then we went to the 130 watt, and that was one of them, plus the other 2 fiber lasers. So we got a lot of lasers.
So I think that's 7. I was counting.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure my intro is held up.
Yeah, we have a lot of lasers.
I have fact checkers out there who fact check my intros.
Yeah.
I don't know. He said there's one for every day of the week, and I only counted 6.
Oh man. Well,
yeah.
One of them is still at a
totally
buddy's.
Incredible.
The diode is still at a friend's house and still functionally working to this day.
You use that to engrave the floor of your what you had, like the rack, the CrossFit rack.
So when I made my wife the weight room for her birthday, I guess that was in 2020, so 3 years ago now. You actually helped me with the logo on it.
Right.
So, but yeah, we used that. Like I said, you could take that diode and set it just straight on the floor. It's a 4x8 sheet of plywood for the lifting platform, and put it right on there.
It is convenient. I just got the X Tool D1 Pro 20 watt.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Just to have something else.
You'll
arsenal.
find a lot of not need. I shouldn't say need, but there's be wants.
Right.
There'll be times that it'll outshine the CO2 and vice versa, but yeah.
Well, I still have it. I need to get rid of it, but I have a Muse laser from Full Spectrum, and it's a 40 watt or 45 watt CO2. That's what I initially started with. Mm-hmm. And the reason I got it was because it has the bottom, like the open floor. And so you could theoretically take it and do what you would do like with your diode.
Okay.
The problem is it's a CO2 laser. So it's not only is it heavy and clunky, but then you also have the water cooling and stuff like that. So if you want to move it, it's nice if you want to like slip something underneath it, but there's no way I'm engraving a floor like without it being a total pain.
Yeah. So did you fix it? Because
after the cracked screen, no, I didn't fix it. Okay. I still have it, but I think it's only like $30 or $40 to replace the screen. So I'll need to do it at some point so I can get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more advancements in the laser space, like OMTech, OMTech. They have their I'm going to say it every way so I don't offend anybody. No, but OMTech has a nice desktop one.
The Polar, yes.
Yeah. And then Xtool has a nice desktop one that actually has a lot of really cool integrations in it. Like you can put, if you have a coaster, right, and you put the image in the coaster, then you want to take like another coaster next to it. But let's say that coaster is like cockeyed. The camera on it will determine, okay, this image is centered over the coaster this way. And so even though your other coaster is cockeyed, it will automatically adjust for that.
Wow.
And yeah, you should go out and look at the video. It's amazing.
Okay, I will.
I think it's like
obviously.
P something, P1 maybe. But yeah.
And this is by Xtool?
Xtool, yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's just so many different advancements in this space, in the laser space. Like I can't keep up.
Certainly. And then the fiber lasers, which are still expensive, so don't take that the wrong way, but they have come more consumer friendly. That I see a lot more people, especially through Instagram, the communities, popping up here and there. And,
right.
I'm not the first of anything, but I've had them.
Oh, you should just claim it. You're the first. Yeah,
I've had them
and only.
I've had them for a while, so like I get a lot of questions on them, which is not a problem. But I do get a lot of questions on setup and settings and just overall stuff. Like
right.
And just like anything, like
so
when I start
support,
free
tech support,
free tech support, which I don't care as long as you're trying to help yourself. That's the whole kicker to me. If you're trying to help yourself and you're not just expecting me to do it, I will help you for as long as I'm free.
Right.
It's just the times that people are expecting me to be there. Google, like, hey, this is the direction you need to go. See what you can find out, and then call me back.
Right. But you send them to that website. What is it? It's let me Google that for you.
Let me Google, yeah. And then send it back and it types it out for them.
Yeah. Here's how you access the internet, you moron.
There's been times I've wanted to say that, but hey, we're all friendly.
Yeah. It's a good community. I mean, there's been plenty of times when I've reached out. I mean, heck, when I got my laser, you had the laser that I was getting, and I was like, oh, how do I do this or how do I do that? And
certainly. I mean, but there's small things like you just overlook or you just don't know. And hey, one little advice or push in the right direction. Like for me, when I got my CO2, the first one, the scan offset, which you just did that video on.
Right. That nobody saw.
Well, that's a whole different. But yeah, the scan offset was throwing me for a loop. I realigned my laser like 5 times because I was getting a double shaded line, and I thought it was because my laser was out of line or hitting the the cone. It ended up just being a double burn for just a scan offset. And once I figured that out, which is a setting in light burn, fixed everything. It was nothing physical or mechanical. It was all just a simple setting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody's like, well, maybe I need to slow down the laser to get a better engraving. And it's like, oh, no, actually, there's a way to make that better.
There's a way to fix it. There's always a way to fix it, usually.
Yeah. We just you gotta know how to get in the back screens. So the fiber stuff, you've been keeping that thing busy. Oh. You've been doing a ton of, how many cups have you engraved on those?
Over 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, over 1,000.
Crazy.
So I just finished last night or the night before, I finished an order of 24, and before I even finished them, I sent the glamour shots to the customer. They ordered 24 right behind it. So 48
like,
straight.
dang it.
Yeah. Well, I say that, but
it's
also
the new
I'm
cutting
like,
board.
yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's easy money, right? It's just one at a time.
It's one at a time. It is easy-ish money, but there's still, it's a machine doing an engraving. So, and then there's cups. So like, don't get me wrong, when you're on a flow, stuff works. And I even made a post directly today about it. Like, I put one on, start it. I'm unpacking the others. As that one finishes, I put another one on, clean it, scrub it, package it, put it back. So it's like it's a revolving door that you never, if you stop, you're wasting time, if that makes sense. And so not so much like a CO2 where like it's running a project and that project may be an hour engraving or 45 minutes, just depends on what you're doing. You have plenty of time to go around. This is like 3 or 4 minutes a cup that you're just cycling. You're always cycling. And but again,
so you haven't taught the kids how to change it out yet?
Not quite yet. We had I had them out there with the magic eraser scrubbing one day. But
there you go. That's help.
Yeah,
that's definitely help. Yeah, I'm sure with all of your technical background, you could figure out a way to set up, like, you know how the T-shirt printing machines have like 5 different things where they have the different screens that come down.
Yes,
I'm sure that there's a way you can like program something for when one's done to rotate and add the next cup to it.
All right. So there is a guy that has made this.
Oh, really?
But it's not on a rotary. So it's hard to explain, especially over a podcast.
Like
the rotary is the rotary is flipped straight up at 90 degrees. And he's 3D printed this big pod, which actually has the cups sitting in it. And the pod will rotate like a big old piece of pizza cut in like 6 slices. But the cups can't rotate, so he can do like 6 engravings at a time, and the thing just turns and keeps turning.
Right.
But what people love is the actual half wrap around that you can do some corrections on the ovals and stuff like that. But I like to actually do a true rotation of it. So,
well, I think you need to invent that like 6-cup rotary thing where you could use that, but then each cup, it rotates.
Yes.
As needed, right?
So that's actually a whole nother thing. Like, I got 2 fiber lasers, I got 2 rotaries. I can't keep up if I run them both at the same time at 3 minutes a cup. So it's like it's
You're
almost
like Lucy in the chocolate episode when the chocolate's coming down the conveyor
where she
belts.
starts eating them and putting on her hat. Yeah, that's almost how I felt when I was trying to do it. Now, if I had on 24, I can just manage one, and keep it going. Now, if I had like 48, yes, I'm just going to do them and then I'm going to go back and clean them all. But so it's like it's just interesting. Like, sometimes it's better to slow down rather than just be forced to try to fight 2 machines at once. Sometimes. Now, sometimes it's awesome. But
I don't need sleep.
No. Who needs sleep?
Sleep is overrated.
Yeah.
So good margins on those cups?
They can be. Yes.
Yeah. Is it come down to like how you source the cups versus time, or?
Well, it comes into how much investment up front you want to put. Obviously, when you buy a case, they'll sell them to you a lot cheaper.
Right.
So at first, I was trying to do the whole Amazon thing, buy 6-pack and engrave 6 for this person, that person. Then I learned, screw it, I'm just going to buy a case. Even if this person only wants 3, I'm going to upcharge them a little bit more, but I'm going to have a whole case.
Yeah.
So then I've got my margins are lower now that I even paid for it up front, and it's going to work to pay it off. But yeah, so that's where you get your margins better.
Right.
JDS Supply, not that that's not sponsored.
Right.
but I do love their cups, and their cups are cool because they come in their own packaging. I'm sure you've seen it in my videos, but they come in their own individual cardboard boxes that you don't have to try to sort or wrap them yourself.
Right. Yeah, because that's an additional cost if you had to go to Uline or whatever and get additional boxes. And
certainly, and especially like the Amazon ones, they come in like a 6-pack with a plastic divider or a cardboard divider that aren't even wrapped. So it's hard to do anything with this one cup. But
right.
Yeah. So yeah.
I want to ask about the arcade games. I want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
So the arcade games, you had, was your first one like a tabletop arcade game?
Yeah, so my very first one was the cocktail cabinet that I ever built, which is obviously one of the bigger ones. Me and a good friend that works IT for the local hospital, we went to one of the coin-op arcades. You know, they've since then they've popped up everywhere. This was probably 6 years ago now. So one popped up in Huntington. It was fairly new. We went there and we sat down and we started playing it, and like, it was just cool. You know,
I could build that.
Yeah, it went back retro, and I was like, I could build this. And he's like, if you can build it, I could program it. And I was like, okay, it's game on. So at that point, it was set out. You know, I built the whole thing, got it down, buttons, wired it, had everything ready for him. And then he came over one night, and we started working through a full project with the Raspberry Pi. Us together spent hours. I'm talking, people don't realize how many hours we spent on this thing.
Right.
Because what some people don't realize is, yes, you can go online and download the Raspberry Pi images that are arcade or the emulators, but they're all meant for upright arcades. We needed it to rotate between each player. They don't make those.
Oh, wow.
We had to program almost every single game.
Wow.
There's 7,000 games.
So you got time.
Yeah, so each one, there's a line and a code in there that first you have to rotate it to instead of a vertical, horizontal, and then that puts the screen at a different angle. Then you have to go in for player 2 to rotate it back. And yeah, so some of them were batch, but a lot of them had to be individually written, and it took a long time. But
so you do all that now yourself? Like, you learned how to do all that?
So I've learned how to do all of it, but you know, through the first while we were partnered up. You know, I did all the woodworking. He's just the brains, but he taught me so much. I mean, we all learn from somebody, you know. And I'm not taking full credit by any means.
Yeah.
And so he taught me, and we worked through it together, nights, weekends, for a long time. And like I said, that's been about 5 years ago now. And
how many of those have you made, you think?
I actually was trying to look it up the other day. For somebody else asked me the same question. I think there's about 35.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's
it
cool.
may not seem like much, but you know,
It's a lot of work.
oh yeah. So one takes me probably 6 weeks. You know, I can do two about 6 weeks together. But yeah, it's a lot over 5 years. So
And then you did the upright one that I just saw you recently reposted or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. You have
So I have the full size upright one, like you would walk into any arcade and stand at. I built that one. I've only built one, and it was my personal one. Spent way too much money on it because I had it fully wrapped. I was going to
ask about that. So your decals and stuff. How do you source that? Like, what are you doing for that?
So I have a local guy, sign shop guy, especially even for the cocktail cabinets that I sell. He custom makes me all the logos and stuff to dress them up. And then the same thing with the full size that we're talking about. He fully wrapped it. I mean, from top to bottom, Trey's Arcade, everything went sky's the limit. I was like, I built this, it's mine. Yeah. So yeah, I spent way too much money on that thing, but it was mine. So.
Sorry, kids talking in the background. I'm like, you do know that I'm doing a podcast right now, right?
You're fine.
I was recording with Luke last week, and his kids came in. They were like doing the creeper thing, you know, behind him and stuff. He's like, go away. I was like, I'm gonna keep that in the episode. But when it's my kids, I'm like, go away.
No, I saw some of the highlights, but I haven't listened to the episode yet.
Yeah, it was funny. We had a lot of fun.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah. So you're doing the wraps, getting all that done, and then how much, like, what takes the majority of the time? The programming or the electronics? Because you're putting all the buttons and doing all the soldering and all that stuff.
Yeah, so the programming is super simple, especially on the upright. Like I said, you can literally pull programs from the internet. The emulators are pre-made. You can, for the uprights, those are not that big a deal. Now, all of the other stuff, the electronics, the wiring, just how everything functions and sits into the wood, that's where it becomes, just trial and error.
Right.
So the placement, one thing that people don't realize is actually placement of the buttons and how your hand lays. There is a good way and a bad way, and it's taken me a long time to figure out the correct layout for your hands to feel good playing it, like a natural feel.
Right.
But yeah, there's just so many small steps that when you look at it you don't see, but when you actually step back and you're thinking holes here, holes there, mounting, how this sits, and then even on the bigger ones I do all the T-track, so all of that's wrapped and like cutting and splicing and heating and molding, and that's where that comes tough.
Right. Yeah, people look at like a table, they're like, it's just a slab of wood with some legs on it. Like, how hard can that be?
Yeah.
They don't realize all the time invested in the sanding and all that stuff.
Certainly.
And just,
There's just
a lot of intricacies into doing a cabinet with
for sure
controllers and everything in it.
No, I mean, when people look at it and you look at my things, like, I built a box and then I attached a ton of stuff to it, on it, and around it.
It's a box with a TV on it, right? It's easy.
But it doesn't account for me going to the local glass shop and getting it custom cut and sanded to fit the top exactly. And I use glass, not plexiglass. You may not know that, but that's, I mean, like, there's always these costs and just running around in circles and like,
right.
Yeah, you may not care, but it's still my time for your project.
Yeah. Well, you definitely put pride in your projects, and that shows through. What has been the most challenging build that you've done to date?
Ooh, that's a good one. The most challenging build to date. Shoot.
Anything from it wasn't your rack that you had to wire up for your clamps.
Yeah, so that was a very technical build. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's still keynoted in my top of my Instagram right now. It's the Bessie Ultimate Ceiling Rack is what I called it. The Bessie Ultimate Rack. That thing took me weeks, a lot of trial and error. Something I didn't show was I actually built it twice, because the first one the measurements didn't quite work because the stupid garage door changed. And that's the truth. The garage door moved in ways that it shouldn't. It does that, but I didn't count for it.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, the garage door is supposed to go up?
Well, I can go into detail if you want me to.
Yeah, why not?
So the top of the garage door, if you haven't ever paid attention, the very top wheels of your garage door, when it's closed, actually are about 1.5 inches taller than the rest of them. And what happens is, as those arches roll down, the top of the garage door shoves into the gasket, closing the top of the garage door. So as it opens up, that entire first run is still 1.5 inches taller than the rest of the flats of the garage door. In my ceiling rack, as it went all the way back and into its resting spot, I knew where the rack was going to lay was going to be in the center of the garage door, and I measured there, like any normal human would do, not thinking that there was any other variable to account for.
Right.
Built it, put it on the ceiling, did everything, and went to raise the garage door, and that 1.5 inches nailed the rack. There was a lot of choice words at that rack.
I was going to ask.
At
you
the rack.
The question.
Yeah, it was at the rack, at the door, at the at the dog outside not having anything.
You're like, there's only one way to fix this: lower the floor.
So there was a lot to do there. So I had to pull the whole thing down, cut my blocks, put them back up. That was truly one of the most engineering side of builds that I had to do and count for, especially when we talk about the hoist and the electric hoist running through the pulleys.
Right.
Just overall how it laid out. But it was so rewarding at the end to get, I think there's 24 parallel clamps up there, to get them off my wall and out of my floor. Like, it was, but that was probably one of the most intricate builds to date.
Yeah, well, I want to say, as you were talking about it, I was remembering Case's bed.
Yes.
And you incorporated some pulleys and trap doors and stuff. Yes. If you guys haven't gone out and seen this, go back a ways. I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. But you did this bunk bed type thing. Well, it's not a bunk bed. It's got like a play area kind of underneath it with like a trap door that you can pop up, and then he goes and lays there. And then you had some like electronics you were trying to work into that, I think, too.
Yeah. So to paint the picture completely, it is almost like a bunk bed, but it is physically built into the wall. So his entire back half of the wall, which is like 12 to 13 foot, I don't remember exactly now, did a full ledger board. So it, like basically like a deck in his room. And on one side, it has a full rock wall, like a ramp that we integrated that. So it also swings up, has tons of storage underneath there, close it down. His bed is up on top, did a full railing. And then on the other side, I built a trap door that you can come around the back and climb a ladder to get into. Now, the electronics come into play is I took a window regulator out of a car and mounted that in there and did a switch and everything else with a bunch of pulleys. So now you can hit the button and the window regulator will open the trap door from the bottom. So you can hide it, and you wouldn't know unless you, I mean, there's a rope there. You can still see it, but it's still really neat because it's all flush. And man, he wears that thing out, or he used to, not as much anymore, but yeah it's a lot of fun.
The novelty wore off a little bit, I guess.
A little bit. And you have to think about this. So I even thought it all through because I was like, man, I don't want him to be able to do it while either being able to touch the trap door, like run it up and down. So like I had to move the switch just far enough that like his little arms couldn't reach the trap door or the rope or anything.
OSHA approved.
Yeah. So really thought this through, guys, especially in the middle of the night when he's trying to play with it. Nobody's around.
Right. Exactly. Well,
and you can hear it.
Well, we were talking when you were building it, we were talking about the railing, and you were kind of worried about like what people are going to say about the railing and all this kind of thing. Because, you're going to have the safety police come out.
And there still was. I mean, I do everything I can to make stuff safe and try to think it through. But yeah, we did the whole, I don't know, it's not wrought iron. I don't know what you call it. The conduit, it's thicker than conduit. It's not.
Yeah, it's just like a steel pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing, right?
And threaded it together and did all that and hung it on there, which is strong as can be. I mean, I can do a pull up on it, but there is still a slight gap. But now that he's 5 years old, there's no way he's going to get through that gap.
How many pull ups can you do?
Oh, not as many as my wife. That's the correct answer.
You know me too well. Yeah. So how do you come up with your ideas? Stuff like this, like stuff like the bed with the trap door and using all this kind of stuff. Is that the way you're wired?
It's the way I'm wired.
You also go kart racing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, and you do all your wiring and electrical and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So you got into doing this kind of stuff and like tried to marry the things that you enjoy doing.
Exactly. So woodworking came first. I was doing tons of woodworking, and I love LED lighting, just accent lighting, just anything to bring out the most of a project. And sort of like I said, I like functional furniture, and I've said that through anything that you've ever heard me talk about. Right. Functional furniture is what I call it. From the step stools to the Pac-Man, they all have a function. You can use them. They're not a wall sign or anything, and I'm not taking away from people that make that kind of stuff by any means. So
you can take it away. It's fine.
Well, no, it's all an art. It's all somebody's joy.
Yeah.
But I like something you can use.
Right.
So, and then if you use it, how can we make it better?
Yeah.
And that's where the motorized trap door came in. And then even like the LED lighting, there's been a lot of stuff that I just enjoy incorporating more to it, taking that extra step. Like, I built her a full, for Ella's room, there's a full mermaid bookshelf. And it literally took me no more than like 10 minutes to add LED lighting, put some step-offs off the wall, and it turned the project into a simple bookshelf, into this, I'm going to call it a beautiful mermaid tail hanging off the wall that turned into a nightlight. So now's
your time to repost that because the Little Mermaid movie that just came out.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Million views.
That's right.
I just
make sure you use the music from the new soundtrack.
I know. I just had to move her bed, or I had to move the bookshelf for the new bed that I just built, the princess bed for her 30-year-old birthday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could get some good content on all that again.
Yeah. Don't set your expectations too high.
It's me. I never set them high. I'll get my 2 to 3 followers a day, and we'll roll with it.
That's funny. Well, at least you're not losing 200 to 300 followers like I have been. Wow. Well, I'm not posting regularly, but I want to talk about the real reason why I have you on the podcast. I want to talk about this shop that you've been working on.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
But I'm conscious of the time. Yeah. So I'm wondering if we should take it over to the after show.
It's up to you, big boy.
Because that could take a minute.
Oh, yeah, and there could be some choice language. So we may want to do that.
I think we should take that over to the after show.
All right, let's do it.
But so let me ask so you are building a shop. The plan is to build a shop. Okay.
The plan is to build a shop. Yeah. Yes.
And we will talk about that in the after show.
Yes.
It's already kind of started.
Sort of.
So before we end the main episode, what's the future of Handcrafted by Trey in the business?
More. Just more. I don't know how to say that other than just more. More space leads to more projects. Right now it's really sectioned off to doing one at a time, sort of, because I can run the CNC for days and make as many parts as I want, but then I have nowhere to put them in where I'm at.
Right.
I've outgrown my space, and that's not a cop out by saying that. Just with the bigger machinery that I have purchased, and I've sort of dug myself into a hole. Mm-hmm. The new space, hopefully, we'll talk about that, will lead to being able to not only have space for projects, space for storage, space for finishing, mm-hmm. and have kind of a full turnkey while being able to do multiple things at once.
Yeah, that's good. And with built-in employees.
Yeah. 3rd floor. Come on down.
Right. Yeah. Paging over the intercom.
Yep. I won't say it. I was going to yell at Alexa, but now probably
don't do that.
Yeah.
Shut off the podcast. All right. Well, let's head over to that after show. I want to make sure that we say a huge thank you to our patrons. We always shout out the top tier patrons at the end of the episode. So huge thank you to Jimmy McAnally, Wimm Design, Calvary Customs LLC, Cleancut Woodworking, Bailey Thompson, Dave Garcia, Broken Lead Woodworks, Starks Lagoon, Sawyer Design, Kodama Design, Dylan Furniture, Shock the Fox, and Don Patterson. So thank you to them and all of our patrons. And also thank you to Surf Prep, our family. Surf Prep, amazing folks over there. Make sure that you use that code, Maker Lounge, all one word, for 10% off at surfprepsanding.com. Trey, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Let's head over to that after show. Tops are coming off.
Boom.